quit that and start that. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? So I'm Adam from the Press Continue podcast, and tonight we're talking about the new Commander 18 deck. I'm going over Exquisite Invention, which is with Saheeli the Gifted. This new set, each one, there's 4 decks. Each one came with a Planeswalker as the commander, which is pretty cool because, well, there's not too many commanders that can be Planeswalkers. So, Planeswalkers, okay, first off I gotta talk about Planeswalkers, because Planeswalkers in general, since they came out, it's always been kind of a confusing mechanic to me because they do so many damn things. There's so many words on the card and so many things to remember. I remember when Commanders first came out, and that's when I felt like Magic was dying because they kind of ran out of ideas. Hey Finn, I see you in the chat there. But it's turned into a big thing, and they've always been like some of the most valuable cards in a set. And they're usually the most overpowered cards in a set. So this set, of course, coming with Planeswalker Commanders is pretty sweet. So I ended up getting one. So today, let's go over Saheeli. I'm gonna read it off the nice foily version that I have. Of course, it came with the oversized card as well. Gabe was nice enough, friend at the shop, to give me, because what we did when we got these decks is there were a few of us together that all got them, and we ended up making a pot of 4, each of us playing one of the new decks to see really how they work and how they handle each other. And it was an interesting game. So I'll get more into that later on in the video as well. But Saheeli the Gifted, I'm gonna read it off the card here. So it's got a power 4 Planeswalker. +1, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. +1, the next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control as you cast it. So only the next spell will cost 1 less, making artifacts essentially free. And then next spell you cast this turn will cost 1 less. Well, it can make artifacts free. It can make other spells way cheaper. So that's kind of interesting. Then the -7, for each artifact you control, create a token that's a copy of it. Those tokens gain haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. And of course it says Saheeli the Gifted can be your commander. So the ultimate on that is kind of interesting. It just basically copies all your artifacts till end of turn. So if you got a bunch of mana rocks, you get twice as many mana rocks till end of turn. If you have a bunch of artifact tokens, artifact creatures, you get double that. What's kind of neat is that will trigger all the ETB effects of all your artifacts again. So that could definitely be a game-winning ultimate, even though I've seen a few things that are like, the ultimates in these new commanders are not game-winning like most of them are. But if you do hit this one, I think that, with a good board state and everything, and using all the pluses to get to her ultimate, could turn into a game-swinging ultimate. So, alright, so we'll put that to the side. And I'm going to do like I always do. I'm going to go through all the cards that came in the deck. Let's see. How are we looking here? I'm going to go through all the cards in the deck, like I do every time. And we'll start, of course, with good old land. To figure out how many lands come in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You got 15 islands. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 mountains, which I thought was interesting that you got more blue than you got red. Finn, since you're watching, I'm going to give you all these lands. So, I hear you listening to me in the other room. So, yeah, I'm going to give you all those basic lands so you have it to make more decks. Of course, Command Tower. Tap to add 1 color of any mana your commander's identity. Darksteel Citadel. So this was neat because they put artifact land in this deck, and you got 3 of them. So you got Darksteel Citadel, which gives you a colorless and it's indestructible. You got a Great Furnace, which is the red artifact land, and then you got the Seal of the Synod, which is the blue artifact land. So playing artifacts, big deal. Again, already with Saheeli, you can see that your next spell costs 1 less to cost for each artifact you control. Well, right there's 3 artifacts that are also lands. So you can see the whole deck is built around artifacts. And I saw this deck and I'm like, there's so many cards that I wanted to put in other decks. So I'm definitely going to be ripping this deck apart once I'm done with this review of it, and beefing up all those decks that I've been showing you guys well over the last couple months. Buried Ruin. Tap to add 1 colorless, pay 2, tap it, sack Buried Ruin, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So get some artifacts back. Foundry of the Councils. Tap to add 1 colorless, pay 5, tap and sack it to create 2 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. This land is I mean, maybe in a late game if you really need 2 Thopters, but I really couldn't see myself ever using this card. I like the art on it, though. The art's kind of interesting. Forge of Heroes. Forge of Heroes is tapped to add 1 colorless. Choose target commander that entered the battlefield this turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature, and a loyalty counter on it if it's a planeswalker. So, first thing, I read this, and instantly I'm like, this is going into my Anima Artifacts deck. If you've watched any of my other deck reviews that I've done, I have an Animar deck that is basically all artifacts. So I'm going to use this to give Animar the +1 counter on it, so instantly my spells cost 1 less. But also, we were playing this and we were goofing around that, you know, if somebody else plays their commander, you can tap this and give their commander the +1/+1 counter, or their planeswalker the +1 loyal, or the extra loyalty counter. Hey Harry, thanks for joining me tonight. I hadn't seen you in a while. So I don't know why strategically you would want to give someone else's planeswalker a +1 loyalty, or someone else's commander a +1 counter, but I'm sure someone will figure out a reason to do that. So a very versatile card with really no drawbacks. Again, I would play Saheeli, give it an instant +1 counter on it, then +1 it, so on the turn it came out, it would have a 6 loyalty. Only need 1 more turn to get to that ultimate. So it's definitely good with these. Oh, you're on vacation. Where'd you go, Harry? Then we get into your dual-colored tapped lands. So the Izzet Guildgate. We got Swiftwater Cliffs. This one gains 1 life when it comes into play tapped. Enters battlefield tapped. And Izzet Boilerworks comes into play tapped. Or no. Yeah, enters battlefield tapped. When Izzet enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. I hate these. I really hate these lands. But, you know, they're throwing them in there. They're uncommons. I don't ever see the point of these. Went to Florida, huh? Putting on the Ritz at the Ritz Resort. Pretty awesome. Is that anywhere near Disney or anything, or are we just going to the beach? So, I mean, the pretty standard dual lands that they've been given in all these pre-con decks. I do definitely like the Forge of Heroes, which does come in all the pre-built decks. Foundry Console is pretty much crap. Buried Ruin, very good in artifact deck. all the artifact lands, and of course your command tower again, which comes in every pre-built. So there's the land base. Let's get into the fun stuff. I have no idea if it's near Disneyland. So apparently you didn't go to Disneyland. We got to go to Disneyland last year? I don't know, time's flying by. I think it was last year, and we had a ton of fun. So give the land base a good shuffle, and be ready to roll on to non-creature spells. Here we go. Alright, so good old Soul Ring. Well, good new Soul Ring, I guess. It's not an old Soul Ring. I like the old Soul Ring arts better. Anyway, Soul Ring, tap to add 2 colorless. We got a lot of mana rocks in this deck. So, Prismatic Lens. You know, I find it interesting that Soul Ring they give out in all these pre-con decks. Over the years, they've all had them, but this card is like still $2.50. Isn't it basically a common by now? What'd you miss in the last streams? Quite a bit. Just go back through them, and you'll see some of my new decks that I've messed with. Some games that I've played, of course. I can't even remember what games I played. But just check through the old streams, watch them. They're a good time, as always. Then you don't have to worry about bedtime either. So, Soul Ring, Prismatic Lens, tap to add 1 colorless. Pay 1, tap it, add 1 mana of any color. Sure. Mind Stone, tap to add colorless. Pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it, draw a card. These I don't mind. Mind Stone, I think, is actually a very good artifact land because you have that option of drawing a card off of it. Unstable Obelisk, tap to add a colorless. Pay 7, tap it, sack it, destroy target permanent. Very hefty cost, but in an all artifact deck, that is one of the few removal cards that you would have. So, I mean, not typically a card that I play with, but it's a neat little option, I guess. I think there's other artifacts that cost 3 that are more worthy than this. So, but I guess if you had nothing better, that's good to throw in there. Magnifying Glass, tap to add a colorless. Pay 4 to investigate, which is create a colorless clue artifact token. Pay 2, sacrifice the artifact, draw a card. So that gives you a little bit of drawing engine. I guess if you have nothing left to do with extra mana, investigate? Sure. Worn Power Stone, always good. Enter the battlefield tapped, add 2 colorless. Headrun Archive. It's just like a Worn Power Stone, but a little bit better. So this one does not come into play tap, so you're going to pay 4 to it and get 2 of that back right away. So I've been looking at cards kind of different like that, where if they come into play not tapped, you're essentially paying 2 mana for this because you're paying 4 and then it's ready to tap for 2 right away. So essentially for 2 mana, you're getting this artifact out, which also gives you the pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, draw 2 cards. So it's basically a little bit better version of Mind Stone. Is it Signet? Pay 1, tap it, get some red and blue mana. Commander Sphere. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's identity. Sacrifice it, draw a card. So you see there's a lot of extra draw card stuff. Manolith is better than Obelisk. Which one's Obelisk? Yeah, definitely. Manolith can be definitely better. Vessel of Endless Rest. So this was kind of interesting. When Vessel of Endless Rest enters the battlefield, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. And tap to add 1 mana of any color. So this gives you any color, and it puts a card on the bottom of a library from a graveyard. What? There's so many cards that'll like put a card on the bottom, and I realize putting it on the bottom doesn't matter if you're like searching for things. At least it's back in your deck. But again, I would find better stuff to use than that before I use that. Unless I was in a 5-color deck, then that kind of makes sense in a 5-color deck, because again, any color. So Harry, that something like that might be good in your Dragons deck, since you run that 5-color Dragons deck. Of course, what else? Yeah, so far out of that would work. Blink Moth Urn. At the beginning of each player's pre-combat main phase, if Blink Moth Urn is untapped, that player adds that many colorless mana for each artifact they control. So, everyone else is going to take advantage of this first. Well, no, pre-combat main phase, at the beginning of it. Okay, so yeah, everyone else you're playing with is going to get to take advantage of this before you do. But when it finally does hit your turn, you're going to make so much stinking mana, it's ridiculous. I did get to play this in the one game that we did play it in, and it made... Everybody else got like an extra 1 or 2 mana. I got 16. Because I actually played that, and... where is the other card? First I played Mirrorworks, which is whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under my control, I can pay 2. If I do, I create a token that's a copy of that artifact. So I played this first, then I played Blink Moth Urn, and copied it. So I got double mana for, because I had 2 Blink Moth Urns out there. So I got double mana for each artifact I had. So I had 16 mana going into the next turn, and just played everything. So it was kind of ridiculous. This Mirrorworks, I already have a deck that this is going into. What's funny is I've been making a weird artifact deck for a while, and a lot of these cards are going to go straight into that. It's funny because this kind of had the same idea that I had, but I'll show you that deck maybe next week. I'm still, again, trying to get it to work right, but a lot of these cards are going into that deck, so it's kind of weird. I already have better than that. Tap, make any mana. Add Eldrazi to the deck with that combo. Oh, for sure. It's got all kinds of colorless mana, right? But Eldrazi is not an artifact creature, so remember that. So there's Mirrorworks, Blink Moth Urn. If you notice, so far everything I've showed you is an artifact. Even some of the lands are technically artifacts. So, Dreamstone Hedron, pay 6. You could tap it to add 3. So again, with my thing that I said earlier, technically this costs you 3 mana. Pay 3, tap it, sacrifice it, draw 3 cards. So they got 3 different things that do that. You got Mind Stone, you got Hedron Archive, and you got Dreamstone Hedron. It's funny that it's a stone and a Hedron. So it should be a Dream Hedron, or Dream Stone Archive Hedron. That's what we need next. That costs like 8 mana. Coveted Jewel. This card's weird. I am putting this into my... I'm going to try this in my Nekazar deck. Hey, Finn. I see you saying hi. Coveted Jewel. Whenever Coveted Jewel enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Tap. Add 3 mana of any one color. Whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel, and they untap it. So, it's not if they deal damage to you. If they attack you with something and it's not blocked, they take control of it and draw 3 cards and untap it. So Nekazar is like the only reason I could see putting this in there, because this did get passed around the table, and then actually I had no way to get it back, which really sucked. But it is 6 mana. Okay, again, technically 3 mana, because you play it and it comes into play untapped. So for 3 mana, you get to draw 3 cards. But that drawback of, you know, somebody attacking you and not blocking something, and then they get it, and then they get the mana ramp. It's a scary card. This card makes me nervous. Real nervous when I played it. Mimic Vat. I've been needing my Mimic Vat for a long time. Imprint. When a non-token creature dies, you may exile that card. If you do, return each other card exiled with Mimic Vat to the owner's graveyard. Pay 3, tap, create a token that's a copy of a card exiled with Mimic Vat. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. I'm going to put this card to the side because this card gets abused in this deck, and I'll show you why later. So I'm going to put that off over here in the blue zone. You'll see what's up with that later. Scrabbling Claws. That picture is kind of scary. It's just like a hand running around. Reminds me of the old movie Idle Hands. So a zombie hand running around. Tap, target player exiles a card from their graveyard, so they pick and exile a card. Pay 1, sacrifice it, exile target card from a graveyard, and draw a card. So, I love you too, Finn. So, I did actually end up emptying someone's graveyard with this, but they were playing a deck that basically threw anything into the graveyard, or hardly threw anything in the graveyard, so it wasn't a big deal. I guess I could have used it to draw a card, but that's kind of a crap card. Not really a fan of that one. Prototype Portal with Imprint. When Prototype Portal enters the battlefield, you may exile an artifact card from your hand. Pay X, tap it, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card. X is the converted mana cost of that card. So this lets you copy artifacts. Yeah. Just make more tokens. Swiftfoot Boots, of course. This has been in every deck too. These things are getting cheaper and cheaper. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste, equipped for 1. Unwinding Clock. Untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. Yeah. This, oh wow. I just realized that. Okay, with those artifact lands, that would let your colored lands untap on other people's turns as well. So you'd be up for counter magic, you'd be up for wow. This is a more powerful card than I thought. Wish they brought Eminence back in Commander 19. Eminence. Oh, yeah. You know why they didn't do a lot with Eminence? Because Eminence is broken. So stinking broken. Just look at, I mean, I did my Edgar Markov deck. Broken. Basically, Eminence could be, if you think about it, it could be the, like, Aloro. Technically, I consider that Eminence because stuff happens from the command zone. Whenever stuff happens for free, it just seems totally broken. So, Retrofitter Foundry. This does a lot. Pay 3, untap Retrofitter Foundry. Pay 2, tap it. Create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Pay 1, sacrifice a servo, and it turns into a flying Thopter. Tap it, sack a Thopter, create a 4/4 colorless construct artifact creature token. Yeesh. So it does a lot of different random things, and it only costs 1 to come out. Don't know how I feel about this. I mean, yeah, it's got a lot of diversity, and again, if you're making a ton of extra mana with the Blink Moth Urn, I could see you turning a bunch of stuff into 4/4s, or tapping and untapping it a bunch. but I don't know. This is one of those I kind of eh. Endless Atlas. Pay 2, tap it, draw a card, activate this ability only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. Well, basic lands have the same name, so that should not be too hard to do. This is good, definitely in a monocolor deck. Heck, I might even put this in my Heartless Hitsugu deck, since that's solid red. So that deck needs better card draw. So yeah. I see you typing there, Finn. Here, give you, there you go. So now we get into the colored spells. Echo Storm. Whenever you cast this spell, copy it. For each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game, you may choose new targets for the copies. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact. So this one assumes that you've thrown your commander into the command zone a few times. Every deck came with something like this, and I'm not really a fan of it. I mean, if I made a deck where I'm constantly sacrificing my commander, I forget the one where you want to keep killing off your commander. I could see it in a deck like that, but otherwise just hoping that people kill your commander off a bunch of times so that this does something. Because if your commander has not died at least once, this spell does absolutely nothing. Or for 5 mana, you just copy an artifact one time. I'd rather just play copy artifact, which I have. It's one of those cards that I think they stopped printing in like 4th edition. So I'd rather just put that in there. And it costs like 2 mana versus 5. So I'm Tidings. I thought I said Tiddlings. Tidings, draw 4 cards for 5 mana. Not a bad payoff. The Dusk Rose Vampire Commander for Rivals of Ixalan. He's another one that you want to keep throwing in the graveyard. Saheeli's Artistry. Here, she's drawing stuff. Choose one or both. Create a token as a copy of target artifact, or create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. So basically, you can copy 2 creatures for 6 mana, which is pretty dang good. I think that's pretty dang good. I mean, 6 mana later, in late game, you would be copying some bigger stuff. So I think that's a pretty decent card. Reverse Engineering. This has Improvise, so your artifacts can help you cast a spell by tapping them. Draw 3 cards. So essentially, for 2 blue, you're drawing 3 cards. Just remember, like, it can be anything, like even equipment. You can tap equipment to pay for Improvise. You can tap all these tokens you're getting. You can have equipped Swiftfoot boots and tap it to pay for Improvise. I mean, Improvise is a pretty good mechanic that I'm, again, in a deck that I'm working on, abuses Improvise as well. Thirst for Knowledge. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. I don't like it. Well, draw 3 cards for 3 mana and then lose one of them. Maybe 2. I don't know. I feel like when drawing is too complicated, I just kind of skip over it. Into the Royal? Into the Royal. With Kicker of 2. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If that spell was kicked, draw a card. Well, that's trash. Ethergate. Return 6 non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Okay, that's fun. I didn't even know this card was in there. Return 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Ethergale. That's fun. Because you can target... Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. I like that. I like that a lot. Thopter Spy Network. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. When one or more artifacts creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. I don't like Thopter Spy Network. Create one vampire with her power for every turn she's been on the field. Her one effect is when a creature dies, she gets a +1/+1 counter. Well, that's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Dusk Rose Vampire. Huh. That's pretty good. You should make a deck around that. I think you could do it. So Thopter Spy Network. I think there's better ways to draw cards. Better ways to do that. I mean, the whole, yeah, you get a 1/1 Thopter every turn. But, Elenda the Dusk Rose. Huh. Yeah, you should look into that. I want to see you make a deck around that, Harry, because you need a new deck. You only have that one deck, and you need something new to play. Here we go. Red. Blasphemous Act. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act does 13 damage to each creature. Okay, well, normally you're paying 1 red for this in Commander, so I can never have enough Blasphemous Acts, so I'm okay getting another one of those. Saheeli's Directive. Man, Saheeli's doing all kinds of junk in this. So, 3 red and X. Improvise. Each artifact you tapped after you're done activating mana abilities pays 1 for this, right? Reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of artifact cards with converted mana cost X or less from them onto the battlefield. Then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put on the battlefield into your graveyard. So, pay X, reveal the top X cards, and then any artifacts that cost X or less, you play them all. Everything else goes in the graveyard. So, could be real good, could build your board real quick, but at the same time, all my stuff is getting tapped to get more, but it's being replaced with other stuff. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. This is another one of those. I don't know how I feel about it. Traded mine away, and I have a Narset deck. I just don't play it much. Well, next time we play, I want to see your other deck. Because, and maybe we'll try to work on your Dragon deck some more together. So, see if we can figure out some stuff to make that thing work a little better for you as well. Because there's always ways to tweak something. Chaos Warp. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it into the battlefield. Usually I end up Chaos Warping myself, unless somebody's got some weird indestructible crap. I'll Chaos Warp a token to go get a real card. So that's, I guess I'm weird like that. Magma Quake. Magma Quake deals X damage to each creature without flying and each planeswalker. So this is like a planeswalker damage version of Earthquake. Kind of interesting. And it doesn't hit players. It's creatures without flying and planeswalkers, where Earthquake does all creatures without flying and players. This does planeswalkers and non-flying creatures. So, interesting. Yeah, Earthquake is has always been an awesome card. You better believe I kept 4 of those around. Enchanter's Bane. At the beginning of your end step, target enchantment deals damage equal to its converted mana cost to its controller unless that player sacrifices it. This card is stupid. So stupid. Because it's so situational. At the most, you're doing like 2, 3, 4 damage if they decide not to sacrifice it, which usually isn't that big a deal. This card is trash. That card's trash. I'm not a fan of that. Can you tell? Not happy with that one. So that's all the non-creature spells. Yeah, my Earthquakes, I think I have some 4th editions. Couple of 4th edition, couple of 5th edition. Like, that's one of those where we'd abuse it. I actually made a deck around Earthquake a long time ago, and Earthquake type effects that I made a commander deck out of. It doesn't work all that good, and I haven't been able to figure out how to make it work better. but it's a white, red, blue deck. One of these days I might show it if I still have it together, to see if somebody has some ideas to help me fix that thing up, because it needs some help. Okay, so here come the creatures that are in this deck, right? Chief of the Foundry. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. Well, you'll notice almost everything I have in here is an artifact creature. Geode Golem. This card is sick for Commander. A 5/3 trample. Whenever Geode Golem deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost, but you still have to pay the commander tax. Either way, you can get some free commanders on the table with this guy. And it's trample, so you're more likely to get across, even if you trade, you know, because it's only a 3 toughness. Even if you attack with this, it dies. You still get to play your commander instead. It's awesome. Awesome card. Thopter Assembly. 5/5 flyer. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no Thopters other than Thopter Assembly, return that Thopter Assembly to your hand and create 5/1/1 Thopters with flying. I don't know in this deck, because it creates a lot of Thopters. I don't know when this would ever return to my hand to make the 5 Thopters. So that's kind of strange. Beginning of your upkeep, if you control no Thopters other than Thopter Assembly, return it to your hand and create 5. So I got mixed feelings about that card. Either way, it's a 5/5 flyer for 6 mana, so that's good. Steel Hellkite. 5/5 flyer. Pay 2, Steel Hellkite gets +1/+0 until end of turn. X. Destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. So, first time I saw Steel Hellkite, somebody attacked me with it and paid 0 and destroyed all my tokens. I was real sad. Because tokens have no casting cost. Well, they have a 0 casting cost, technically. So, ever since then, I've kind of liked Steel Hellkite. But then, of course, when you know it, I rarely play against token decks. So, I don't get to use that ability very much. But that's a good card. Soul of New Phyrexia. It's a 6/6 trample. Pay 5. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Pay 5. Exile Soul of New Phyrexia from your graveyard. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So this could be sneaky. But it is a hefty cost. 5. So, again, not sure how I feel about it, but it's a 6/6 trample for 6 mana that gives you possible indestructible. So I think it's pretty good. Psychosis Crawler. Don't know why this is in the deck, because it's not a mass drawing type of deck. It's kind of like draw a card here, draw a card there. Oh, my nose is itching. I think my mustache is going up my nose. So, Psychosis Crawler, power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in my hand. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life. So it picks them off here and there a little bit, but I really don't see this being a powerhouse card in this deck. So this would definitely be one of the ones I would cut out. Duplicant. When Duplicant enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-token creature. So there's some removal. As long as a card exiled with Duplicant is a creature card, Duplicant has the power and toughness and the creature type of the last creature exiled with Duplicant. It's still a shapeshifter. So you steal its power and toughness, you get it off the board. Again, a great way to deal with indestructible or crazy Eldrazi stuff or whatever. I mean, you can exile anything. A land, those enchantments that you don't like, whatever. So Duplicant is pretty sweet. Scuttling Doom Engine. Doom. Scuttling Doom Engine can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. When Scuttling Doom Engine dies, it deals 6 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. So it's an artifact that when it dies, it does direct damage. This is pretty cool. I like it. Some of these artifacts are like so fun. Just so dumb fun type stuff. Not overly powered, but at the same time, interesting. Darksteel Juggernaut, reprinted. A Star Indestructible, where its power and toughness is equal to the number of artifacts you control, and it attacks every turn. Has to attack every turn. So, in this deck, again, everything's an artifact. So this guy gets into a gigantic Indestructible. At worst, he's a 1/1 Indestructible. That attacks every turn for 1. Bosch Iron Golem. Here's a legendary artifact creature. He's a 6/7 trample. Pay 3 in a red. Sacrifice an artifact. Bosch Iron Golem deals damage equal to the sacrifice artifact's converted mana cost to any target. I don't like him. Not really a fan of this card. I feel like there's too much mana to spend to do too little damage. Pilgrim's Eye. Although, you know, I could make an all artifact deck. Well, no, that wouldn't be all artifacts because it could have red in it. I'm trying to figure out an artifact commander. Every land in the deck is wastes. Even though I don't have any wastes, I just want to do colorless everything. Like the whole deck is just gray. So I'm sure it would be a terrible deck. Could end up being really good, but I just want to make it completely colorless and devoid. Well, devoid wouldn't work because most of those cards have colored mana symbols. So just the whole thing just grayed out and see what happens. You guys know I like to experiment with stuff. I have a deck right now that I'm experimenting with. I might mention it at the end of the video too. Somebody remind me, because it's a neat concept that I brought up to somebody and they're like, that's gonna be fun. So stay tuned towards the end. Let's talk about Pilgrim's Eye. It's a 1/1 flyer, Thopter. When Pilgrim's Eye enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. Whatever. It's a 2-color deck. I don't know why I need to search for colored lands. Ancient Stone Idol. I like this card. I was really excited about this. So it's a flash 12/12. Remember that it's flash. When I was playing, I had this thing in my hand the entire game, and I didn't realize it was flash until somebody else pointed it out to me, and I'm like, I could have played this thing like 3 turns ago. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. It's a 12/12 trample. When Ancient Stone Idol dies, create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with trample. So it's 12/12 trample. When it dies, it's a 6/12 trample, but the flash, okay? 1 less for each attacking creature. Well, I kept attacking people with the same guy, actually. I kept attacking him with this guy. Varchild, Betrayer of Keldor. Because whenever he attacks, or whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player creates that many 1/1 red survivor creature tokens. Survivors your opponents control can't block, and they can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. When Varchild leaves the battlefield, gain control of all survivors. So I kept attacking the same person and giving them a bunch of survivors, and they were attacking out everybody. And I had this guy in my hand from the beginning, and he's attacking with like 12 and 15 tokens. I could have flashed this guy in for free so many times if I remembered it was flash. I felt so stupid, but it's such a great card. I love it. That's going into a deck right away. So here's one of those, oh, I shuffled it in, darn it. So here is, hold on, let me find it. None of that. Mimic Vat, okay. So this thing with Mimic Vat, I actually did this in the game. I would, when it died, I took all of his tokens, right? And then I threw it on Mimic Vat. So every turn for 3 mana, I would make a token of Varchild, attack somebody, they'd get 3 tokens. At end of turn, this dies. Well, the token dies. Or, where is it? Exile the token at the end of the turn. And then I would get the 3 survivor tokens. So every turn for 3 mana, I was getting 3 survivor tokens, basically. It was a really cool combination that I put together as I was playing it, and I was like, oh, that's awesome! So this could just be a commander strategy right here, because he is a legend. So that's cool. I like that. Would you mind making the streams an hour earlier? It's kind of hard because of my, well, having to make dinner, get the kids ready for sleep, all that stuff. I am going to be doing longer streams, though. I'm not doing as many streams a week. I cut one of the days out. Now I'm only doing Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But I'm going to make the streams longer. So making it earlier, I was thinking about that today, but it's just, with the kids and everything, it's just probably not gonna be possible. So sorry about that, but I do my best. Do my best for everybody. Of course, my family always comes first, so I gotta take care of them before I can sit down and do this with you guys. Mirror Battlesphere. When Mirror Battlesphere enters the battlefield, create 4/1/1 colorless mirrors. Whenever a Mirror Battlefield attacks, you may tap X, untap mirrors you control. If you do, Mirror Battlefield gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn and deals X damage to player or planeswalker it's attacking. Because I have school, so I might not be able to see the streams. Well, just remember though, even if you can't get on them live, if you look on my channel, you can always look at previous broadcasts, or past broadcasts, I think is what they call it. So you can still watch them, you can still comment on them, I'll still get the comments, so we can still talk about what's going on, even if you're not on it live. But I understand the whole school thing, all the kids are going back to school now, so I hear you. Like, Finn's bedtime's going to be 9 o'clock, when school starts. It's been 10 o'clock all summer, but school starts, he goes to bed at 9. So Mirror Construct is an interesting card. I forgot about the X damage for tapping mirrors. It's every time I say mirror, I feel like I'm Kermit the Frog or like a Muppet or something going mirror. Here come the colored creatures. Even though this is a blue, it's still an artifact creature. It's a 7/11 Trample, Island Walk, Shroud for 9 mana. Not sure how I feel about this, but like, if you're casting it with Improvise or something like that, I can see it being a big thing. I mean, it is still an artifact creature. It is a Leviathan, which are always crazy high casting costs. Okay, Harry, thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you again soon. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow on stream. I don't know what I'm playing yet. But a 7/11 Trample, Island Walk, Shroud, artifact creature. I don't know. I don't know about that one. This guy. Brutaclad Telcor Engineer. Alright, so this is one of the other commanders in the deck. First off, I love double-colored foil cards. I think they look amazing. I like how it fades from one color, from blue to red in the background. I like all that. So he's a 4/4. Creature tokens you control have haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 blue mirror artifact creature token. Then you may choose a token you control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. So at the beginning of combat, you have not declared attackers yet. So you get a 2/1 with haste, right? And then you can make them all all your tokens become copies of whatever token you want it to be. So here's a thought. Any token. So first thing that came to mind was playing a Desolation Twin, because you get a 10/10 with a 10/10 token. All my tokens now become 10/10s. Okay. But think of this. If you have a clue, you can change all your creatures now into clue tokens. Okay? And then sack them off to draw cards. You can change, if you have a treasure token, you can turn all your Thopters into treasures and now have a ton of mana to cast whatever the heck you want. I mean, it can turn into any token. If you have an indestructible token, which I'm trying to figure out how to make an indestructible token. I'm sure there's something out there. Somebody's got to tell me. So if you make an indestructible token, and then you turn all your tokens into indestructible tokens, and then board wipe, you got all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's neat possibilities. Keeping track of it, though, on the board is going to be kind of crazy. But I really like this card because it's got a lot of possibilities. I think this is one of the most, can be one of the most powerful cards in the deck. Sharding Sphinx. It sounds like he's pooping. He's sharding. Sharding Sphinx. Artifact creature, flying 4/4. When an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, I create a 1/1 Thopter with flying. So, could be pretty good. I am trying to put together an all Sphinx deck, so that's good to have that. Sharding Sphinxter. Ethereum Sculptor. Artifact spells you cost 1 less to cast. Well, pretty much everything you've seen has been an artifact, so that's good. This is the third commander that they gave you in an option there. Tawnos, Urza's Apprentice. He's a 1/3 haste. Pay a red and a blue. Tap, copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an artifact source. You may choose new targets for the copy. So, this is almost too much brain power for me to try to make a deck out of. Because activated abilities is anything with that little colon. And triggered ability is if something's on the board, you play something, and something else happens because of the other card. I think is a triggered ability. You can copy it. So I'm sure that this is a very powerful commander, especially since he's only 2 mana. But thinking up a deck, I can't wrap my brain around copying those kind of effects. So I don't know what I would do with that, especially in red-blue. But I can definitely see somebody making a powerful deck out of that. Treasure Nabber. I was excited about Treasure Nabber. Whenever an opponent taps an artifact for mana, gain control of that artifact until end of my next turn. So go ahead and play your mana rocks. Go ahead and use your mana rocks. I'm going to use them all next turn. And I'm going to find ways to sack those things off. I don't remember if this deck has a sack outlet for artifacts, but I know that I have decks that do have sack outlets for artifacts, and I want to do that because everybody plays with mana rocks. So I want to sack your stupid Soul Ring. I want you to tap your Soul Ring so I can have it next turn and then sacrifice it to something. Loyal Drake. Flying 2/2, and this is one of those lieutenant creatures. There's a couple of lieutenant creatures. So lieutenant means at the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control your commander, draw a card. So lieutenant is like if you have your commander, your lieutenant does something if your commander's in play. So if I have a commander, I draw a card. Okay. Here's my other lieutenant, which I thought was kind of crappy, if I remember. He's a 2/1 haste with lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. It gains haste. So you get an extra Thopter every turn if your commander is out there. I mean, he is only 2 mana for a 2/1 haste, so could be good. But again, your commander's got to be out there for it to do anything. So it's quick damage early in the game, late game it can do stuff for you, but I'm not as big a fan of that. I like drawing cards versus making Thopters. Hellkite Igniter, a flying haste 5/5. Pay 2 mana. Hellkite Igniter gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control. I wish that thing had trample, because I would be all over it. All over that. So that is that could be a very powerful card. I mean, it is flying and haste, but 7, 9 mana to really take advantage of this thing if you're hasting it out. Decent card though. Veldekin Humiliator. Metalcraft, and he's a 3/4. Metalcraft. When Veldekin Humiliator attacks, if you control 3 or more artifacts, creatures your opponents control lose all abilities and have base power toughness 1/1 until end of turn. This thing, I love it. I love it, because you're always going to have Metalcraft, and then you're going to attack somebody and turn all their junk into 1/1s. I wish this was a legendary creature, because I could totally use that as a commander and wreck town. Yeah, that's fun. So basically it's a targeted humility on people. So but the creatures still have their abilities, but they all turn into 1/1. So good. So good. Thopter Engineer. When Thopter Engineer enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact with flying. Artifact creatures you control have haste. All artifact creatures I control. Oh, I like that. That's even better. I like that. That's good. That's going in the deck. Whirler Rogue. Yeah, when Whirler Rogue enters the battlefield, create 2 Thopters with flying. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So you can make stuff unblockable with all the 10 billion artifacts you got. How about that? That's good. And Maverick Thopterist. Improvise. So your artifacts, you can tap them to pay 1. When Maverick Thopterist enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. He's a 2/2. Meh. Anyway, so that is the creature base. Some real good stuff in there, some real junky stuff in there, but a lot of good, a lot of really good. I feel like, it's weird because that deck I've been making the other deck I keep talking about, it's based around treasures and winning off of having a gajillion artifacts. So that's why a lot of this will go into that deck, and it's weird that they kind of took my idea and made a deck out of it that I've been dealing with. But so a lot of this goes straight in to that new deck that I've been making, because it's a very similar concept. So I had to get this. Because I had so many cards that go straight in. My nose is running. My allergies. This weather has been trash. Everybody I know is getting headaches and having allergy problems and losing their minds. So, as always, shuffling up. We're going to run some test hands. See what this thing does. Let's check it out, yo. Right? So if you're watching and you have not followed me yet, please hit the follow button. That's that little heart at the top. Or subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact. I appreciate anybody that watches and follows, and I want to hear from you guys as I'm doing this. I like the comments, so talk to me. I want to hear what's going on with people, what their thoughts are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's run through a test hand. And I get 1 land on the test hand. But you know what? I can still play stuff, so we're going to run it, right? First turn draw, and there we go. I'll play a retrofitted foundry that lets me do all kinds of crazy stuff with tokens. Turn 2, look at this. Turn 2, we got a mana rock. Turn 3, well, this is interesting. Turn 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can play Saheeli. And +1 her to make a servo. Well, wait. +1 her. Yeah, to make a servo. So I gotta have more artifacts out there, right? Next card, we get another island. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Five mana. So we could and there's 3 artifacts out there, right? So we can do 4, play that guy. Well, do it this way. 2, 3, 4. And then pay 1, sacrifice the servo to make it a Thopter. Yep. And then make another servo? Make another servo with Saheeli. Okay, so that was a bunch of craziness. Then the next turn, flat out. So now 1, 2, 3, 4 artifacts, right? Four artifacts. Okay, so this gets interesting here. So I will +1, make it cost 4 less, pay the 2 mana here to play Broodclad, right? Tap this to turn that into the 4/4 construct. Do they give you a 4/4 construct? They do give you a 4/4 construct. Turn that into a construct. Then, before combat, I will get a mirror. And then, I will tap this. Oh no, I already did that. And then this will turn everything into constructs. So now, all those are 4/4 constructs, right? And I attack. Oh, wait. I already made that, so I can pay that. And then I attack with this and a bunch of 4/4s and turn theirs all into 1/1s and kill a bunch of stuff, right? It's such a. God, this guy is so good. This actually worked in this deck, though. I'm surprised. I'm surprised this actually did something. Oh, and then this is going to do this too. This is going to be interesting. Do I get a land? I did not get a land. I got that stupid Enchanter's Bane. So dumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wish I would have had 5 mana. How can I make more tokens at this point? Tap 2. So off of her, I can make a servo again. Do I have any more servos? Make another servo. Pay 2. Tap. Well, I'm out of servos. Make another servo. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So turn them all into constructs. Attack with all that. Make it all 1/1s again. And God, this guy is so good, so good. So that was completely different than how I ran that game. The one game I played. I got to the point where I was copying all my artifacts with that one thing, and my board got so full finally, and somebody did some kind of crazy board wipe that destroyed everything with casting cost of X or less, and he did enough to destroy the entire board, except for land, of course, and totally wiped me out. Wiped out my hand, because I just played everything in my hand, and I had no way to come back after that. It sucked. But wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get both of those commander type creatures out there, and it's a good combination. Okay, so this is another interesting running hand here, right? So pay 1, turn 1, turn 2. We'll put out Swift Boots. Turn 3. We'll play Mana Rock and that Retro Foundry. Turn 4. Turn 4, I have 5 mana. Get a servo. Then sack a servo to make a... So if I... No, that's not going to do it all. So at this point, I could play this. Make a servo. It's mainly what she does is make servos. Make a servo. Turn the servo into a Thopter. Because why not? 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. We basically got the exact same hand going on here. Look at this. It's the exact same game. So I got a mirror. From that. I got a servo again. From... Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. So I make a servo off this guy, and then we sit. Oh no, sack the Thopter, turn it into construct. They're all 4/4. I got the exact same game going on again here. That's really, really strange. What do I draw next? That was nuts that I got literally the exact same, almost the exact same run again. So we're just going to throw all these on the bottom and try it again. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, let me know what you guys think of these decks. I want to hear your thoughts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Draw. Which one did you guys get? What do you think of the one I'm showing off here? What changes have you made to the decks? I really want to hear some stuff. Here we go. Attack. Bam. Hasty. Dark Citadel. Play all the artifacts, right? Play Treasure Nabber. Oh, if somebody else plays that and I'm tapping land? Artifact land? They're going to steal the artifact land? 4. Put that out. Make a servo. Now I have Lieutenant. So I get a Thopter. Draw. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8. Just not worth it. Improvise. Can't improvise. So I'm just going to beginning of combat on your turn if you control your commander. So I would just get more little stuff at this point. Here, I pay 4, play Hedron Archive, play Scrabby Claus. Scrabby Claus. Sounds like scary Santa Claus. And make a Thopter and a Servo. Servo, Thopter, Thopter. And let's see, next turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My next spell can cost 8 less. Do I have 3 red? I still do not have 3 red. I'm trying to cast this finally to make it do something. X damage each creature without flying and each planeswalker. Thopters and servos, huh? Just a bunch of nothing. So, how about I pay 1, sack this to draw a card? And I got a whole lot of nothing. So I can play that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can double up on all my artifacts till end of turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Still don't have red. Still don't have 3 red. So whatever. Let's sack this to draw 2 cards. There's red. And I did that wrong, didn't I? Look at that. Stupid. Stupid mana tapping. 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to improvise off here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to see what this does. Saheeli's directive for 7. So draw 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And any artifacts with converted mana cost 7 or less from among them on the battlefield. So I get a Mimic Vat, I'd get a Magnifying Glass, I get an Endless Atlas, I get a Mirror Battlefield, and a Dark Steel Hellkite, or Steel Hellkite. That's a lot. That card could be really good. I don't know. I might like this more than I thought. Saheeli's Directive with the Improvise. I could have did even more because I had 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have tapped those guys too. So let's pull out 4 more and get a Darksteel Juggernaut and Ancient Shield, Ancient Stone Idol. That's all good junk. I think I might put that in my deck I'm making just to have fun with it. So, anyway, that is what the Exquisite Invention deck is like. And we're going to switch gears here for a minute. I'm going to show you a deck that I'm working on. I told you guys that I would talk about it at the end. It's a deck built on fractions. Or I guess you can, it's fractions multiplying and dividing. I've found so far 30 cards that I feel are worthy of being in the deck so far. It's literally the very first stage of making this deck right now. So, but it's a fun idea. Let me go grab it. Give me 1 second. Alright, so just to give you an idea, it starts out with Doomsday. Pay half your life, round it up. There's half, okay? Put your graveyard on top of your library, then remove all but 5 cards in your library from the game. Put the rest on top of your library in any order. So, pay half your life. Remove your whole deck from the game except for 5 cards. Half, right? Pox takes a third of everything. I'm just going to kind of go through it kind of quickly. Mana Clash. This was just an interesting card. Weird numbers, right? So me and someone else, we flip coins until you take 1 damage every time you come up tails, and it repeats until you both get heads. So again, weird fraction, right? Desperate Gambit. Flip a coin. Target opponent calls heads or tails. What's in the air? It can double damage from a source or double. Okay. Or remove damage. Fireball. For each one, it splits fractions. Rolling Thunder. X damage divided. Divided. However you want. Mana Flare. Double mana. Arc Lightning. Divide damage. Okay. Puppet's Verdict. Flip a coin. If you win the flip, destroy all creatures of power 2 or less. If you win the flip, destroy all creatures of power 3 or greater. So, destroy a fraction of the creatures on the board. Sudden Impact. 1 damage to target player for each card in their hand. Doesn't really fit the bill, but it is kind of a mathy card. Furnace of Wrath. Double damage. Pyrokinesis. 4 damage divided however you want. Flame Shadow Conjuring. Copy, so it's double something. Illicit Auction. Pay life. To steal a creature. Whoever pays the most life gets to keep the creature. Again, it's taking a fraction of your life. Pyrotechnics. 4 damage divided. You see what's going on here? It's kind of a fun thing. Bittersweet, or Bitter Feud, double damage. Goblin Game. Everybody hides items, and then whoever has the fewest objects loses half their life. Mog Infestation kills all their creatures and gives them 2 1/1s, so literally divides all their creatures. Whenever a player plays a black spell, I can pay 1. If I do, target player loses his life. That doesn't even fit at all. That's just a good black card. Crypt Rats X deals X damage to each creature and player, spending all black mana. So I kind of threw X in there. Uncle Ishvan takes all damage, reduces it to 0. So anything divided by 0 is 0. Sure, math. Grey Merchant. For each black I have, Devotion to Black. All my opponents lose X life and I gain X life. So that's dividing their life, multiplying mine. This is what inspired it. Dire Fleet Ravager. Menace Death Touch. When Dire Fleet Ravager enters the battlefield, each player loses a third of their life, rounded up. Third. Fraction. Catacomb Dragon takes half damage from stuff. Again, I'm going through these quick. Banshee X does X damage, rounded up. to you and half damage rounded down to any one target. So rounding fractions. Void Winnower. Odd numbers can't be cast. I mean, right there, that's messed up with math. Siphon Soul. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded that way. So there's some math. Who's this? I guess since that deck deals with fractions, it would never be a whole deck. Oh, Lord. That's terrible. But you know I'm going to say it. Somewhere I'm going to say that. That's pretty smart, but it's the finger guns, the ha ha ha. That's what John, you're banned. That's it. Gruesome Fate. Each opponent loses 1 life for each creature you control. So there's multiplying numbers. Multiplying by 1 by the number of creatures you have. Sure. Blood Tribute. Kicker. Tap and untap 5 power you control. Target opponent loses half their life, rounded up. If it was kicked, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. Yep, fractions. And Vona's Hunger. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you have the City's Blessing, instead each opponent sacrifices half the creatures they control, rounded up or down, or rounded up. So, weird fraction-y stuff. I think it's a fun concept. I think it's going to be stupid, especially if it wins. But you see what I'm trying to do there? One of these days I'm going to finish this deck. I don't even know what commander to throw in it, but it's going to be fun. I think people are going to laugh at the concept, and somehow I want to pull this thing off and win with it, because taking people down by thirds and halves is going to be rough to deal with. I mean, this is already 30 cards, and I took a bunch of screenshots of cards that I don't have for this deck. So there are way more fraction-y cards than you think in this game. Mana Clash, I know, is going to come back and backfire on me, and I'm going to end up killing myself with stupid-ass Mana Clash, because whenever it's a 50-50 shot, I'm always wrong. If it's 2 light switches on the wall, and it's the left one turns on the light and the right one does something else, or one turns on the lights and the other one doesn't, and I'm trying to turn on the lights, I will always flick the wrong switch. It makes me crazy. If there's 2 doors to go through, I will always pick the wrong door. That's how I always end up in the women's bathroom somehow. One day it would be a whole, but for now it's only a fraction of a deck. Literally, because I need 100 cards and only have 30. So it's dumb stuff, but fun stuff. So I don't know. I'm kind of out of stuff to talk about. So I guess I will end it there. Let's see. We'll go to the full screen cam. Hi. Look at that. So thanks as always for tuning in. Like I said, the schedule has changed, so make sure you check. God, there's something always in this eye. So check the schedule, because I'm doing Tuesdays Magic, Wednesdays is Retro Gaming. We're trying to get back into doing the podcast again. So we may do that live, we may not. I still don't know if Brittany, my co-host, is going to agree to doing live streams with me. Like I said, Wednesdays is Retro Gaming, so tomorrow I'm going to play some old school stuff. And like I said, I'm doing less shows, but I'm doing longer shows now. I'm trying to go for 2 hours instead of limiting to an hour. So we'll see what happens with that. But thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you had a good time. Hope you learned something. Hope you have a good night. I don't know. I'm out of things to say. So just tune in next time, tomorrow, when the gaming never ends, tomorrow. As long as you, tomorrow, press continue. See you later, tomorrow. Bye. Until tomorrow. Whoop.